Welcome to The Planted and the Poured, a space for real conversations about life as it is while we're becoming who we were created to be. Can I ask you a question? When you think about your child going back to school, what are the things that you're most concerned about? Is it that they're going to fall behind or struggle socially? Is it that they might have a teacher that they don't like? Or maybe, if we're being really honest, you might be worried that whatever they do in school could be seen as a reflection on you as a parent. I am going into my 13th year of teaching, and like you, I also experience some anxiety at the beginning of the school year. And as much as I hate to admit it because it's sunny and beautiful and still hot outside, the back to school season is upon us. And so with school starting back up in a couple weeks where I live, it may have already started up where you live, I want to give you a little glimpse into what your child's teacher might actually want you to know. And not just about academics, but about what helps kids have a good year. And while I'm sharing my perspective as someone who is a teacher and not a parent, I would love for you as a parent to leave a comment and share with me what is your unique perspective. Because I think the most important thing is that if parents and teachers understood each other a little bit better, we could be better at working together to help these kids succeed. So the first thing as a teacher that I would like parents to know is that I am not looking for a perfect kid. When I think about the students that I have enjoyed teaching over the years the most, it's not necessarily about the kids that are getting the best grades. I want curious kids. I want kind kids. I want kids who will not give up on the first try and will keep going when something gets hard. I want kids who are willing to say, I don't understand this yet. I need help. Because I believe that those qualities will take them so much further in life than whether they get a 95 or 100 on one assignment. The second thing that I would like parents to know, and this is something that I believe to my core, is that your child has to struggle. Now, I know that I am not a parent, and I understand that it can be so hard to watch your kid struggle, especially when it is within your ability to make it easier. But I beg you, please let your kids struggle. Let them forget their Chromebook. Let them forget their homework. Let them struggle with a difficult assignment. Let them be the one to actually ask the teacher for help. And let them experience a natural consequence. I know it's easier to just pack the backpack, or it's easier to email the teacher and ask what they missed. But at some point, we have to let our kids practice being responsible for themselves. And it's a lot better and lower stakes if they're practicing it now when they're in school than it is when they're in the real world and the stakes are much higher and the consequences are much greater. Because if every time something becomes difficult, an adult swoops in and fixes it, how does a child ever get the opportunity to discover that they're capable? And again, it can be hard to watch them struggle. But even when they're babies, letting them try to get the shape through the opening in the toy and let them try again and get frustrated and then finally figure it out, that confidence is unmatched. Confidence is built by struggling and then discovering that you can actually handle it. And in school, there are so many opportunities for them to struggle and build confidence and also responsibility. Kids want to be treated like they are capable. They may not like the work that is involved in becoming capable, but deep down, kids want to feel like they can do something, and that is the main way they get their confidence. The third thing that I would love for parents to know is that your child doesn't need to be busy all the time. Now, I loved getting involved when I was in school, and I encourage my students to get involved in sports and clubs and other activities because that is a really great way for them to socialize with other kids their age, for them to make friends, to discover their interests. So I am all about extracurricular activities. However, I also see that parents can feel pressure to put their kids in sports and dance and music and tutoring. Sometimes I think we're so afraid of our kids missing out on opportunities that we can be tempted to fill every single space in their lives. But kids need downtime, unstructured play, time with the family. They need to be bored and time to recover from a very overstimulating school day. There are many days when I, as a fully formed adult, drive home in silence because I have been overstimulated all day long. And kids need that too, especially because they're developing. So every available block of time does not have to be filled with something constructive. It's okay for kids to be able to let loose and run around or even take a nap. It's important for their development. Being busy isn't the same thing as being prepared for life. A few episodes ago, I talked about play, and I think this is another place where it matters, especially for kids who hold their energy and hold their feelings together during the school day so that they can listen to their teachers and follow directions. They definitely need an outlet. Again, activities are great. It's just that I've seen a lot of kids who are overscheduled and then they get overwhelmed trying to juggle everything and be good at everything. And I can see a lot of perfectionism that is born from this. And I'm trying to rescue the kids from being like me, which is really what it comes down to. On the other end of the spectrum, I can also see that when kids are overscheduled, something's got to go. They're juggling glass balls and rubber balls, and something's got to get dropped. And what I see too often is that sports and other extracurriculars become more important than school. And look, I'm a teacher. I was a straight A student for most of my school years, so I do value the importance of academics. But more than that, your kids are building so many skills by doing their homework. They're learning time management. They are learning how to independently solve problems, meet deadlines. And so these are skills that, regardless of what the content is, kids need to build for the real world. And so when school becomes the ball that the kids drop in favor of time with friends and other things, a friction emerges between school and home. Because what many parents don't understand is that the teachers are constantly under this pressure to make sure the kids succeed. And if the kid is not doing well, we are the first person that gets looked at for why this child isn't succeeding. And so I want your kids to have fun and discover their passions outside school. And I am under no illusions that what I am teaching is the most important thing in your child's life. But I do believe it needs to be a priority, and kids also need downtime. And I will say this too, this is the reason why I don't assign a lot of homework. So I am talking the talk, but I am also walking the walk. Another thing that I deeply want parents to know is that I care. I can tell a child to work hard all day long, but if they don't believe that I care about them, I'm not getting very far. I take time to learn my students' interests, to check in with them. I try to notice when things are off and I'll pull them aside. I want to be a safe person that you can trust will look out for your child when you are not there. I know that a kid who is worried about what's happening at home, or who didn't eat breakfast, or who is overwhelmed or otherwise dysregulated, it's really hard for that kid to sit down and learn about whatever I'm teaching that day. And I try to address those needs first so that your kids are ready to learn and have a good experience in my room. Teachers these days are not just teaching content. We are managing emotions. We are helping kids regulate. We have fed kids who don't have food. We are mediating conflicts with other students. We're helping kids navigate friendships and trying to notice when something isn't right and if they need a little bit extra support. A kid can't learn well when their entire nervous system is telling them that they're not safe. So I want you to understand that I am not trying to do your job. I love and respect that you are the parent. But I also want you to know that I care deeply. And when your child is entrusted to my care, I am going to recognize that very important responsibility. And I am going to do the best I can to take care of your baby while they're with me. That being said, parents, I need you. I'm going to switch gears for a minute because I need you to understand that you are so important to your child's education. I know it is my job to teach your child, but I really need you to partner with me. I need you to check the parent portal and know what they're getting on assignments. I need you to help me make sure that homework's getting done because I'm not at home. I need you to help foster these traits of responsibility and making sure they have their Chromebook. I need you to answer my emails and tell me what's happening at home. The best question a parent can ask a teacher is, how can I support my child at home? I am not asking you to do my job for me, but I am asking you to help me reinforce the things that we're working on at school. I care about your child deeply. I have stayed after school. I can reteach something. I can give them additional materials that can help them learn. I can send the resources, email you, and do everything in my power while I'm at school. But I am only one piece of a very important puzzle. They are your child. We need to work together. That being said, please don't assume that I am against your kid. I know that sometimes parents can hear from a teacher that their child isn't doing well, and it can feel personal. Maybe your child got a bad grade and you think the teacher doesn't like them, or your kid is misbehaving and you assume that the teacher is picking on them, or your child is failing and you think that the teacher isn't teaching them. And I understand why you might feel that way, but I can promise you from the depths of my soul, most teachers, there are exceptions, I will admit, but most teachers are not sitting around hoping that your child fails. I've been on the receiving end of parents assuming that I'm making something up or being unreasonable, and that not only hurts my feelings, but it makes it so much harder for me to help your child. If I call you because your child is not doing the work, I'm not calling because I don't like your child. I have 1 million other things to do in my day. I don't have time to call you. I don't have time to email you. So if I am taking the time to do those things, there is a legitimate reason, and I am asking for your help. When the kids came back after COVID and there were mask mandates in school, that was the hardest time of my teaching career. I cried every day. The behaviors were insane. I had a child put his hands on me. That has never happened before, and it has never happened since. It was a very special time in my career. I did not like wearing a mask. I actually believe that I damaged my vocal cords from trying to project my voice through the masks to help the kids understand what I was teaching. My voice has never been the same since, and I would lose my voice by the end of every week. I could barely speak. the masks were very frustrating for me. But it was a rule that I had to enforce. And I was with a group of parents one day, and one of them said, I told my kid, if he wants to take the mask off, just take the mask off. The teacher's not his parent. And that crushed my soul. Because not only was I trying to teach the kids that year, I was trying to manage behaviors after students were quarantined for a very long time. I was trying to figure out how to get kids engaged, keep them not too close to each other, and teach them how to be in school again. It was very, very frustrating. And I'm not saying that to play the sympathy card, but I need parents to understand that the narrative at home is going to inform the behaviors that we see at school. And if you give your child a negative narrative from the jump, you are making my job so much harder. When my job is easy, I feel freer to do more creative things, invest more time and money and energy into making lessons exciting and really pouring my heart and soul into it. When I am using up all of my energy trying to manage behavior, I don't have anything left for fun. And I want your kids to have fun in school. School should be fun. Not all the time. You have to do hard things. But it should be fun and enjoyable. I believe that. And I have done some crazy creative lessons. But I don't have the bandwidth to do that if I'm just constantly trying to get them to behave and pay attention. And your narrative at home really informs that. Speaking of home, another thing I would love for parents to know is that you can tell me what's going on at home. One of the most helpful things a parent can do is let me know what's going on. Maybe the child's parents are going through a divorce, or they're moving, or there's a new sibling, or a death in the family, or sleep problems, or anything else that could be stressful or emotionally difficult. You don't need to tell me every detail of your life, but if something is happening that could in any way affect how your child shows up at school, I want to know about it. It's not that I'm trying to hear gossip, but it allows me to respond with compassion instead of just assuming that some behaviors are defiance or laziness. I'm not here to judge your family. I'm here to help your child. And so the more information I have and the more context I'm given, the better I can support your child when they're not with you. The last thing that I wish parents knew was that consistency is key. One of the most powerful things we can give children is consistent expectations. Not expecting perfection or putting a lot of pressure on kids. But if the expectation at home is we work hard, we treat people with kindness, we take responsibility for our mistakes, we don't give up just because something is hard, and the expectation at school is the same, kids know exactly what we're asking of them. I really believe that most kids will rise to the expectations we set for them, especially when those expectations are the same at home and at school. Every school year is shaping the adult that each child is going to become. We want them to be able to work hard, handle difficulties, ask for help, take accountability, and be kind. So if you have those expectations for your children at home, then it won't be a surprise when I have those expectations for them at school. So what can we actually do to set our kids up for success as they go back to school? One of the most important things is getting their sleep back on track. They have been living their best lives in the summer, and I love that for them. But sleepy kids are cranky, they are less inclined to work, and more inclined to pick a fight with me when I just ask them to take out a pencil. So if I could give you a piece of advice, I'm not telling you how to parent, but I would recommend that you not wait until the night before school to get sleep back on track. Establishing good sleep habits can be really beneficial all year long, but especially in the week or two before school starts. It doesn't have to be anything major. I shared in a previous episode about healthy habits some of the things that have been beneficial for me when it comes to sleep. I personally do not think that kids should have access to their phones at night. But if your child is going to have their phone in their bedroom at night, a little hack that could be beneficial to them is switching the color filter to red. I talk about in episode 8 how to switch the color filter on your phone and create a shortcut. So when you just push the side button on an iPhone 3 times, it'll switch to the red filter, and then you push it 3 times again and it switches back to the normal setting. Doing this will limit the blue light that is entering your child's eyes in the evening. I recommend doing this after the sun goes down or at least an hour or 2 before bedtime. This just helps the melatonin produce in your child's brain so that they get sleepy and they can have more restful sleep throughout the night. The second piece of advice I would have is to create a simple morning routine. This does not have to be a 14-step, Pinterest perfect situation. Just something that's predictable. Kids know I wake up, I eat some breakfast, I get ready for school, I make sure everything is in my backpack, and I would even extend the morning routine to the night before. Have them take ownership and pick out their clothes. Make sure their lunch is packed. If they're old enough, they can make their own lunch. Make sure all of the papers and the homework and the Chromebook are already in the backpack. And please, for the love of all that is holy, make sure that Chromebook is charged if your child has a Chromebook. Doing these things the night before can set you up for success the next day and make the mornings less chaotic, especially if you have multiple kids. It might even be easier to have your child pick out all their outfits on Sunday. Now, I know that is not realistic, especially if your child is 5, but it's just a thought. But at least the night before, so that you're not running around looking for a missing sock, seeing where you left your homework, realizing that you didn't plug your Chromebook in the night before, and shoveling down one piece of toast on your way out the door like a kid in a Disney Channel movie. Creating smart systems will set you up for success and ensure that your child is not rushing to school or crabby or not having enough to eat in the morning. The third thing, which I've talked about before, is letting your child practice their independence. Let them pack their bag. You can check it after, but let them be the one that's putting their homework in, making sure they have their lunchbox, carrying their things. Letting them solve little problems now will pay off dividends in the future. Yes, I know it is faster and easier to just do it for them, but faster and easier isn't always better. Another practical thing that you could do with your child is read to them if they're young, read with them if they're older, and even have them read to you. Not because you need to check off a reading log, but stories are good for kids. Let them choose. Let it be something that you do together. Talk about what you're reading. This is so important, not just for ELA class, but for pretty much every subject. Giving them that rich background knowledge and experiences that are different from theirs is so important for their brain development and their academic achievement. Plus, it's a really great way to bond with your child. And even if you're not a reader, find something that you're really interested in and get an audiobook. Another thing is to talk about school positively, but realistically. You don't have to say, this is going to be the best year ever, because then the kid's going to have one terrible day and think the world is ending. You can say something like this. You're going to meet new people. You're going to learn new things. And it might be hard sometimes. If you need help, there are people who are there to help you. Your narrative about the school year is going to be reflected in how they approach the new school year as well. Just like I talked about with the mask situation What you say at home about school and their teachers is going to inform their opinions because they are like sponges. Communicate when it matters. You do not have to email the teacher about every little thing. But if something's happening at home or you notice a change in your child, please communicate. And if the teacher is communicating with you, we love it when you respond. Teachers can support children so much better when they have context. And the last thing that I want to say is probably the most important thing. Parents and teachers are on the same team. We should not be enemies. I know sometimes it can feel that way and we're butting heads. Your child comes home upset about what happened at school, and your first instinct is to protect them. And that's a good instinct. You're their parent. But please remember that your child's teacher is seeing a side of your child that maybe you don't see at home. And you're seeing a side of your child that we don't get to see at school sometimes. We have different pieces of the puzzle. And when we can share those pieces with each other, instead of assuming the worst of each other, that's when we can really help a child thrive. I can tell you, I am not a parent, so I sure as heck am not trying to parent your child. And you are not expected to be your child's teacher and have all the answers. Sometimes the math is really hard. We have different roles, but we have the same goal. We want to help your child grow into the person that they're becoming. So if you're a parent getting ready to send your kid back to school, I hope you can go into this year knowing that you don't have to do it alone. And if you're a teacher getting ready to welcome a new group of kids, I hope you remember that behind every child who walks through your door is a parent who loves them so deeply and is probably trying really hard to get it right too. We are not on opposite sides. We are standing on the same side, looking at the same child, just from different angles. And I think that when parents and teachers can remember that, that's when everybody wins. So as you get your kids ready to prepare for another school year, don't worry about whether or not they're ready. You can't prepare them for everything. And you're going to encounter things that you've never prepared them for. They're going to struggle and make mistakes, but they're also going to surprise you and grow. And remember that your job isn't to make sure that they never struggle. It's to help them believe that they can handle the struggle when it inevitably comes. And my prayer is that when they walk through that classroom door, they have a teacher who is ready to see them and to help them meet whatever challenges come to them this year. Thank you so much for listening. If you know a parent who is anxious about the upcoming school year, or a teacher who needs to just say, yes, I'm seen, please send this episode to them. I would love if you would subscribe to the podcast as well. This is a conversation that we are creating together. So if I said something today that was a little spicy, please leave a comment, or you can fill out the Google form in the show notes and plant a seed of conversation. I would love to hear what you think. I hope this met you right where you're at today, and I'm truly honored to be with you as we become the people we were created to be. Until next time.